Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Thursday Morning Live and welcome. I'm glad that you're here this morning. You know, we are here every Thursday morning at 8:30 and we bring a guest. We want to talk about markets. We want to talk about multifamily. Today, my guest, I am so grateful. It filled in at the last minute. I had guests planned for this morning, scheduled, and at the last minute, the 11th hour yesterday afternoon, they had an emergency come up. And I wish them well, and I hope things are good in Drew and Wendy's life. And I got a great guest this morning, Trevor Thompson. And one of the things about Trevor that I just absolutely adore is that he is on. He's a listener every week. He's a listener on Saturday morning when we do Multifamily Unplugged. So it's great to have him on the other side of the table this morning as my guest. So here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about markets, where the market is going, what the economy looks like, and we're going to talk about the GOB conference coming up. Hey, this event this morning is sponsored by the GOB Network, a nonprofit multifamily organization that brings financial literacy, education on multifamily, and big payback to the communities. So if you are not a member of the GOB, go out there and register. We have a conference coming up in Chicago, July 13th and 14th. It will be a great event, expected to have over 600 attendees. So if you are someone who likes to network and learn, this is going to be an event for you. So one thing I want to ask, if you're new to the show this morning, go bring a guest, right? Bring somebody here with you this morning to listen in to see what we're going to talk about. Please go to social media also. You're going to find us on social media. Like us, love us, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and then subscribe to our YouTube channel, please, because we're always bringing relevant content to the marketplace. About multifamily, some tips, techniques, systems, processes, as well as market updates. So I would love to see you there as a subscriber so that you can get some of that information. And before we get any further down the road, let me bring our guest in. Trevor, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you doing, sir?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good.
So glad that you're here this morning. Where are you calling in from?
So I live in Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. Here's what I like about Austin, Texas. And I don't know, I don't think it's there anymore. I think we had this conversation, but Coyote Ugly on 6th Street. That was always a fun spot to be. Hey, Trevor, one way I always start my show in the morning is I ask my guests, in one word, what best describes you personally and professionally?
Yeah, so I'm a networker.
A networker. Wow. You know what, Trevor, I'm a couple hundred episodes in with a couple different platforms and shows. I ask that question all the time. I actually think I'm going to write a book about it. But nobody's ever said networker. So why is that important to you in your life?
Yeah, so real estate is a team sport. And you need partners, you need people, you need everybody to be able to do real estate deals. And so my goal is to network and connect with people that are doing goals with the goal to get on their deals. My goal is to network and connect with people that are new to real estate investing and help them with their education and then connect them. Part of networking, my next phase is a connector, and connect those people with somebody that can provide what they want. And I think it's very important that we do that because it's a really big skill that takes a lot of energy, but the rewards are great. When you connect two people and something good happens, it's amazing.
Yeah. So Trevor, I think you are so true. And do you think for you, is that a skill that you've always had? Is that something innately in you, or is that something you've developed over the years?
Yeah, no, it's a skill. I was that kid at the playground that was organizing things, getting people together, finding, oddly enough, the shy guy in the corner and trying to bring him into the group. And, it's interesting because I'm actually an introvert. A lot of people would never think that. But I force myself to get out there and connect. And so I have real sympathy for those that are kind of standoffish and find it a little bit difficult. And actually, it makes it easier when I connect with them because now I have a purpose to go around and connect and network with other people to help introduce them.
So, Trevor, what I'm hearing you say is you were not the baseball coach on the playground that picked me last. You would have picked me first, right?
I know, yeah. I'm not sure about first, but definitely made sure you got picked. You still got to win. You still got to win.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, one of the best books I ever read, and I talk about this all the time, is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
And I actually have it on Audible, and it's one of those books I still listen to parts throughout the year, right? Because I think that's something, that skill that we need to all have.
Yeah,
right?
it definitely is.
It's the only way to build this business that we're in, or to build any business really, is to be connecting with people and networking with people. So I think that's a really good focus that you have. So tell people a little bit about yourself, your background, your history, what you're doing.
I do want to add one other point in there, though. The next level of that book is the book called The Go-Giver by Bob Burke. I don't know if you've ever read it, but it kind of symbolizes what I'm trying to do. And I know we'll talk later about the GOB, but one of the things that resonated me with that is their motto is to be a go-giver organization as well. So, but we'll get back to that later. So a little bit about me. I'm originally from Niagara Falls, Canada. I spent, hence my Niagara Investments for the name of my company. I started in the attractions industry very early, working for Ripley's, believe it or not, at age 13. I did that all through high school. Then I did 18 years with Guinness World Records, did all kinds of things with Guinness, including probably the most famous is lunch with Michael Jackson when we gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award. Not too many people can say they've done that. And did that and opened up several touristy attraction type businesses. Ended up moving to Orlando, Florida, opening a year-round haunted house of all crazy things, and got recruited by a headhunter for a company called I Fly Indoor Skydiving. And an interesting fact, at our first team meeting, they gave everybody a copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad and said, you need to learn how to have passive income in your life, and real estate is a good way to do that. Very interesting. That's what the owner did. And he actually hired a financial advisor to come and speak about how to, do different things with your money and invest it. And I 20 years, a little more than 20 years with I Fly Indoor Skydiving. So I opened 46 of our 80 worldwide locations, including the 3 in your Chicago market. Spent a lot of time in Chicago. And then near the end, exotic worldwide. So Queenstown, New Zealand, Brisbane, Australia, Perth, Sao Paulo, Brazil, Brasilia, Brazil. Launched the first one on Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. So it was an amazing career, but unfortunately COVID really hurt high touch visitor attraction type businesses. They're rebounding and doing great now, but they separated, and that's when I decided to go to full-time of real estate.
So have you ever done it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I wasn't very good at it. Like the staff members were really good at it. And I had a bad shoulder, and shoulders are one thing that the wind tunnel doesn't do. And yes, I also jumped out of a perfectly good airplane, just more to learn the sport, because they were a big portion of our customers. And it's something you need to be better at than me. So I jumped 12 times and I crashed 11 of them. Wow. Including 6 weeks on crutches, 3 months with a cane. And my 12th jump, I landed on my feet where I was supposed to and said, I've mastered the sport of skydiving. I'm done.
Well, multifamily's kind of like jumping out of a plane.
It is. It definitely is.
Hey, let me just say this real quick. Hey, good morning, everybody. A lot of listeners on this morning. Glad that you're here. Welcome. My guest, Trevor Thompson from Austin, Texas. We're talking about multifamily. We're going to talk about markets and the upcoming GOB conference. We've been talking a little bit about networking, but if you are out there and you want to comment, you want to say hi, drop it in the chat. Love to recognize you this morning or get your questions answered for you. So feel free to jump in to the conversation with us, because we'd love to hear from you. And, matter of fact, tell me if you're a skydiver. Tell me if you've ever done iFly, right? Hey, Trevor, we're talking about connecting people. You said you opened 3 of them here in Chicago.
That's correct.
I would love to have one of those. Are those franchises?
Those are company owned, actually.
They're company owned. So is there like a regional manager or something
I'm
from?
sure there is. Yeah, it's probably changed from when I was around, but
Okay.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to have one of those guys on. You know, this Thursday morning show is really Chicago focused. The events coming up in Chicago, businesses, things like that going on. And I would love if you know somebody that'd be a great connection. So
Yeah, yeah. And in fact, you can see one of the locations from the hotel where the GOB conference is. It's literally like a half, 2 blocks, maybe at most.
wow, interesting. That's cool. All right, great. Well, Trevor, so what are you working on these days in the multifamily space?
Yeah, so I'm switching from passive to active. I've been a limited partner investing in 18 different syndications. Half of those are multifamily. I'm also have a retail strip center, medical center, an apartment to condo conversion, a single family home fund, and storage. So I'm diversified. I call it learn and earn. So I want to learn about those asset classes. So I passively invest in them, but active if I'm involved in multifamily. I'm looking for deals in the what I'm going to call the Texas Triangle, focused on the I-35 corridor, sort of from Waco down to San Antonio, skipping over the very expensive city of Austin.
Okay.
I let the big boys take Austin and girls.
Yeah. I Austin's not a market that I want to get involved in either, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the deals we're trying to do. So are you on the GP side then when you say
Yeah, so I have one small GP. Right now we're going to a PSA on a property, so hopefully that will all work out, and I'll have my first what I'm going to call larger GP role on a deal. I was on one earlier that we spent 6 months on and couldn't close, and so that was very unfortunate. But it happens. A lot of people don't understand, right? All the risk is taken by the sponsors, the GP teams. So all our investor money was safe. But us as sponsors, we actually lost some money, but it is part of the game, right? It's business.
and talk about that for a minute. So what happened on that deal that it went sideways?
Yeah, so it was a loan assumption, an agency debt assumption, and we just couldn't get all of the pieces lined up. So we had a pref equity stack, which is a little bit confusing from a third party, and then investors, and they didn't like that agreement. So then we reworked their whole pref equity agreement, and it was just, when you're doing a loan assumption, you only have one shot, 2 shots. We got 2 shots. And if you don't get it done in 2 shots, you're done. They won't talk to you anymore, and they move on. It's super frustrating. Very big lesson learned about how hard that can be.
Yeah.
And near the end was as the interest market and all of the debt market sort of went funny for a while there, right? They went from throwing money at people to, well, maybe we should think about this a little more. And we ended up at the beginning of the we should think about this anymore stage,
Yeah.
and it made it difficult. So, but again, I want to make sure that all the listeners know passive investors' money was never at risk, right? It's never at risk. That's what sponsors do. They take on all of the risk, all of the responsibility. And we talked earlier about jumping out of airplanes. I always like to say the sponsors are the pilot and the co-pilot, and the stewardess or stewards of the plane. The passengers get on the plane. Their responsibility is to buy a ticket, but somebody else does all the work. It gets you from A to B. They take care of it. You don't worry about, like, did they log the flight plan? Did they fill the plane with fuel? And it's very similar. Passive investing is very much like that. You pay a ticket to go for a ride on a passive investment, and somebody else bought the airplane and made sure all the systems were in place to manage it and get you where your destination is safely.
Yeah, interesting. So we have a question in the comments. Which debt instruments are you using? Debt, fund, or agency financing?
So this one was an agency, and it was assumption. And the one I'm working on now, again, maybe foolishly, is a loan assumption as well. Right now, of course, everybody's getting bridge debt. It went to be what you needed to get a rough deal done to what you needed to get every deal done.
Yeah, right.
And I think there'll definitely be some repercussions. If things get a little tight and you need to refinance, I think there could be some implications for sure, because it was a vehicle that was really meant for, a bridge. You were going to get you from A to B, and it wasn't meant to take you down the highway, which is what is being used right now, right? It's not necessarily a bridge.
So was this kind of like late last year?
So we March 30th was
Okay.
12 hours before end of our final extension, a one-line email: you are not approved, ineligible for reapply.
We had that happen back in October last year on an agency debt on a deal. Interesting. Hey, so one thing I want to talk about here is, I think putting together strong teams, and this goes back to networking, right? And building relationships, but putting together strong teams is important. What is your skill set on that GP team? And how many other partners do you have on that team, and what are their skill sets?
Yeah, so definitely. So my skill set is asset management and then boots on the ground. I want to make sure that my first few investments are in a market I live. I can go visit the property. I can manage the execution plan of what we're going to do. And an asset manager, they're really the one that executes the business plan. They make sure that everything happens. They work directly with what's called a property management company that takes care of the toilets, tents, and trash. They take care of that, and you make sure that they do all those things, and you work with contractors. So you definitely need somebody who can find a deal, right? Finding a deal is very important. You need somebody that can analyze a deal, so underwriting, accounting skills, whatever skills. You need somebody who has what I'm going to call the experience level. They've done this before. They have several deals under their belt, and there's several things this qualifies for them. It qualifies them to be a leader, a sponsor of your deal, and it also something that the banks look for. They look for somebody that has that experience level, right? They don't want to lend you millions of dollars, and this is everybody on the team's first time or first rodeo. They want somebody on the team, and then it could be that person, or you need a different person, which is called a KP, and that's a key principal, and that's the person that has the net worth and the balance sheet. So often they are the sponsor that we talked about earlier, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're the person that just has the liquidity, has the experience, and they're the ones who, so you get a $10 million loan, they have to be worth $10 million and have liquid another $1 million basically. And they're the ones who would actually sign on the loan. And then once you get going, of course, you need an excellent property management company that takes care of the day-to-day. They're a big part of your team. And, again, I found several of those through networking and making sure, talking to people and then you got to get to know them. They're your biggest business partner. The bank is the biggest, and they're the second next in line.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so I want to just address these couple questions really quick. Forrest came back. He asked the question about the debt instrument, but then he said, "What was the reason you couldn't get the assumption done, and what's the difference now that you believe you could get it done?"
Yeah, so this was because we had what's called a third-party pref equity, and the bank did not want somebody that looked like they were debt second in line. Even though we worded it like joint venture, the bank still saw it as debt. On this one, we don't need to. So on that one, it was like about a 50% loan to value, and you can't raise 50% and give investors that much money. This is a much better leverage. This is closer to the 70% average, and so we can raise investor money, and there's nobody second in line. And then also the property we're buying, they've been struggling, and I think the bank will be happy to see a stronger group take over the loan.
Yeah, nice. So that kind of answers that, hopefully, Forrest. Anybody else have questions? Put them in the comments out there. Just if you want to just say hi to us this morning and let us know where you're listening in from, that'd be great as well. Hey, Trevor. So this morning, I want to talk a lot about, or spend the next few minutes talking about the upcoming GOB network conference that's coming up. Chicago, July 13th and 14th. I know you're going to be there. Are you speaking?
I believe I am. Yes, okay. I believe I'm on a passive investor panel.
Okay, awesome. and
And I know you're speaking, so interested to be. I've obviously I follow you for a while, but you always bring some fresh value.
yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing my story. And, whenever I tell my story, it's always a short version, but this will give me an opportunity to blow it out a little bit and tell some more of that story. So I'm looking forward to the event. But hey, if you are somebody out there that likes to network, that wants to meet people, that wants to be involved in the multifamily space, the GOB conference coming up July 13th and 14th in Chicago. It's a Wednesday and Thursday. And if you're somebody who doesn't live in Chicago and you're coming in, come in for the weekend. Well, I always say summer in the city is great, but the I have to give credit to Jim Biggs on this. Jim is kind of pulling this thing together, and he's got a great team around him with April and Angela and the Windy City RIA and John Casman and some of the other people that are speaking with us. And if I miss you, please, I apologize. That's not my intention. But, this event really focused on networking and getting to know people. So if you're somebody who's looking to build a network, if you're somebody who's looking to build a team, to become part of a team, hey, Trevor, I think the goal is that we do 40 deals inside of that room that week or those couple of days while we're there. So,
Big challenge.
Yeah. So what I say is, hey, listen, bring a deal to the event that you want to try and put a team together on and raise capital on, or come prepared to join a team. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so you definitely, again, it's a team sport, right? And so the thing I like about the GOB network is they divide everything up, right? So they do a lot on Slack channels. So I'm active on the Texas Slack channel. And when people are looking at properties in Texas, I can comment because I'm in Texas, and I've looked at a lot of properties in Texas, mostly in the corridor. But again, it's a real, and I mentioned the Go Giver book. That's sort of the mentality, right? It's a loose group of people that open source information and try to connect people together to get some deals done.
Yeah. And, Jim is very passionate about his give back, right? And how he wants to help illiteracy, right? Financial literacy expand and grow. So I think that is that the couple of days that we get to spend together to learn, listen, get involved, meet people. I'm excited because I'm going to get to meet some people that I've met on Clubhouse, I've met on other platforms, and we haven't had an opportunity to shake hands like even you and I. We haven't met in person, so it'll be great to meet you in person. So.
Yeah, it's definitely, and I'm super looking forward to it. And there's so many people that, like I said, I know virtually. I go to a lot of conventions, but I've not. Some of these people will be unique to this convention only or conference.
Yeah, so it'll be pretty interesting. So, hey, so any thoughts on this? I did a post this morning, and my post was, so you thought cap rate compression was sexy. Now what are you going to do? Any thoughts on that?
So I definitely think there's going to be some decompression, and I think it's going to be a lot market specific, right? I think the places with pressure on the cap rate, it's going to stay. Places like Austin and hot cities, right? But I definitely and I hope it loosens up a bit. It's been really struggling to get a deal to make it work when it's that hard. When the prices are that high.
Yeah. So I think that it's about being conservative. We were talking about team building before, and that team member, that person that goes looks at that deal should be able to analyze and underwrite that deal also. I think that should be the same guy. Yeah. And that's one of my skill sets. That's what I love doing, and being able to look at it and really put a stress test on the deal to say, what if? Because I'm the what if guy, right? Yeah. And I want to know, what if rents go south? What if the deal goes sideways? What if the debt is higher or more expensive? How does that all fall into play? And does the deal still make sense? Are you educating investors today, trying to think differently about um, where the market's going and the returns that they should be looking at or being able to look forward to?
So I've definitely am saying that don't the days, or at least I think right now, the days of the really big returns, it's just not going to be there for a while again. Where people were, doubling your money in 3 years. That was a phenomenon, right? And we're going to go back to things that are a little more consistent. And a lot of people think, oh, that's bad news. But in the big scheme of things, real estate investing is still one of the safest, highest performing
Right.
aspects of your whole passive income portfolio. So even if things tighten up a little bit, there's still great returns. But the power of a good operator is going to become very, very important, right? When things are going good and things are going fast, and apartment rents are just skyrocketing and values go up, in theory, a bad operator can still make money. But when
Right.
things tighten up and get a little more challenging, it takes a good operator to make money.
Yeah. Um, there's a graph I saw recently that over 30 years, if you graph the stock market and you graph real estate investing, that real estate still outperformed the stock market over a 30-year span.
Yeah.
Well, the average return in the stock market is around 8% over that 30 years. But if you get into when you look at real estate investing, it's been low double digits. So it's going to
Well,
outperform.
and while it outperforms, it has some great tax advantages as well. And even if you have a full-time job, you can still take advantage of these tax advantages, right? You can get to a point where you'll pay little or very little income tax on your passive income, which is not going to happen in any other asset class. Well, I shouldn't say that. Oil and gas and some exploratory and opportunity zones, they all have some pretty good tax incentives. But on the whole, real estate has the biggest tax incentive.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Trevor, listen, it's time to wind down. It's funny how fast the time goes on these things in the morning, There's 3 quick questions for you. First is best book you ever read.
Yes. So I listened to it, and it was on Audible, Grant Cardone's 10X. And I'm going to cheat and say a second book. After you listen to 10X, you got to listen to Be Obsessed or Be Average, also by Grant Cardone, in that order.
What is it? Be Obsessed?
Be Obsessed or Be Average. And to be honest, it's the continuation of 10X. It's the how do you actually put that in your life and become an obsessed personality with your success.
Yeah, awesome.
There's success is your duty in that book. It really pushes it home.
Yeah, I like what I have 10X on Audible, and that's another one of those that I've been listening to. So he gives you a good kick in the butt, and you might like
not for everybody. Right. I understand that.
Yeah. So also next thing is best tourist attraction.
Best tourist attraction. Wow. I wasn't prepared for that one. Wow. I mean, I think it's Disney World, man. I love that place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when you think about it, even though it's $100 or whatever a day, what you can do in an entire day for $100, it's mind-boggling. I mean, it really is. There's something for everybody there.
Do you think when Walt opened that place that he would have ever thought that someday we're going to charge $100 for a ticket?
Never.
Yeah,
never. Yeah, though he was a dreamer. If you ever, I did his autobiography, and boy, what an impressive man.
Absolutely.
How many times he was turned down and rejected, and really, really like long struggle to get there. All we see is the great result and think, oh, that was easy. It was not easy.
Yeah. when we talk about good books too, kind of on that, how Disney runs and companies like Nordstrom.
Yeah.
We've ever stayed in a Marriott, and I don't know if Marriott does this anymore, but they used to put Bill Marriott's book in the drawer.
I don't think they do, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, they used to do it. And, he just talks about the quality of service, right? The relationship with your customer.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Your customer being your guest. Last question, best restaurant.
Best restaurant. So there's a restaurant in Austin called North. It's in the Domain. Don't eat outside in the summertime, but in spring and fall, nothing's better than Austin. And you feel like there's people walking by, and the food is always incredible. I love a good Italian meal.
Awesome. Hey, Trevor, thanks for being here this morning. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
If people want to get a hold of you, how do they reach out to you?
Yeah, so my email is ktt@niagarainvestments.com. Website is niagara-investments.com. And then I'm very active on LinkedIn and Facebook, Trevor Thompson. And if you have anything real estate related in your portfolio, I'll accept you. And if you don't, just say you saw me on the show here, and I'll definitely connect.
Yeah. Hey, Trevor, one thing I want to say is, with all the activity on social media that you have, how come we've never seen any iFly pictures of you like hanging out in the air?
Yeah, so again, near the end, I didn't fly that much. So my flight videos are very unspectacular, but you'll see every once in a while I'll share memories, because there were some real favorite memories of opening locations. And, again, it used to be my profile picture was me on the Royal Caribbean cruise ship opening the tunnel, but since then I've switched it, but yeah, it was an amazing journey.
Nice. Hey, Trevor, thanks for being here this morning. I'm going to move you to the green room. If you hang out with me for a few minutes, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody.
Take care.
Thanks. Hey, everybody. That was my guest, Trevor Thompson. Talked about relationships, team building, skill sets for the general partner sponsorship team, and what people have that should bring to the table. I always talk about knowing your strengths and your weaknesses, and knowing what you do good at, and going and finding other people for your team that do other skill sets as good as you do those, so that you can run a well-run property or asset management over a multifamily deal. Hey, everybody, I want to thank you for being here this morning. The comments for us, thanks for your questions. Cheryl, thanks for being here this morning. And our listeners from Florida and around the U.S., remember the GOB Network coming up July 13th and 14th in Chicago. It's going to be a great networking event. One last thing I want you to remember, if you haven't done this yet, go register. Sunday, June 5th, I'm kicking off the first evening of the 5-day multifamily challenge. It's a free virtual event. We're going to run for 5 nights consecutively. I have some great guests coming up. We're going to talk about multifamily, the skill set, the fundamentals around multifamily. This free event is going to set you up for success. We're going to help you create a 90-day blueprint, a plan to help you go out and execute and get a multifamily deal done. And here's what I want to say, even based on your skill set, if you have no knowledge, no skill in the multifamily space, we're going to help you get that skill and that knowledge. So I look forward to seeing you Sunday night, June 5th, live on Facebook. So go join the Facebook group right now. It's the 5-day multifamily challenge. Look forward to seeing everybody, and especially look forward to seeing